understand the principles of life and comprehend the realm of time, study numbers phenomena, and gain insight into the essence of life. Hello everyone, I am teacher Dai Shinai. Today, let's start our analysis with a passage from the preface of my book, Numbers Phenomena Human, which I wrote in 2019. I know that recently, all kinds of personality tests have become popular, dividing people into different personality traits. But we all understand that such classifications cannot fully capture each unique life. Therefore, I don't want everyone to have a stereotypical impression of numbers. For example, thinking that the number 1441 categories simply represents good interpersonal relationships, the number 1771 categories only means eloquence, or that the number 1661 categories can only reflect a gentle, sentimental, and emotionally unstable personality. Although each number categories has its own unique meaning, what we need to understand is that through numbers, what we are learning is information about life. And the information about life is extremely complex and is entirely presented through the process of each individual's existence. So, as we mentioned in previous episodes, as the length of the numbers extends, it reveals a rich variety of personalized information, and naturally, it also reflects each person's unique and complex life journey. The numbers phenomena provides us with a perspective to understand each fascinating, diverse and distinct life journey. So what about the information presented by numbers phenomena? It has nothing to do with being good or bad, just as there is no absolute good or bad, right or wrong in our lives. Therefore, when we study the numbers phenomena, we should approach each number with a sense of respect, because what they present are real-life experiences that bear witness to unique life journeys. Recently, I shared with my students in my course that if we were to choose a field of study worth dedicating our entire lives to, it would definitely be numbers phenomena. Because through the study of numbers, what we are really learning is the information of life itself. At the same time, I warmly welcome everyone to join in learning and exchanging ideas to comprehend the way of life behind numbers with the most sincere and objective perspective. So, let's get started. This is a passage from the preface of my 2019 work, Numbers Phenomena Human. We exist within the vast and boundless universe as seekers exploring the true meaning of life. All along, we have been continuously searching for the mysteries and essence of life. But as we stand on this boundless journey, we also face many profound and seemingly unsolvable problems. These issues often cause us great suffering and a sense of hopelessness. So, where do these difficult problems come from? They stem from the unknowns we encounter in life, and these unknowns in turn are rooted in our insufficient understanding of the essence of life. Even though we possess a vast and profound system of knowledge, we still find it difficult to escape the helplessness that arises from our inability to comprehend the unknown and our own ignorance. Therefore, we continuously strive, studying psychology to explore human thought, emotion, and behavior in order to understand human existence and essence. Reflecting and reasoning through philosophy to contemplate the meaning of human existence, and researching the structure and function of the brain and nervous system. Neuroscience, which helps us understand the neural mechanisms behind human thought, emotion, and behavior. We attempt, through multifaceted efforts, to gain insight into the complexity and diversity of life, so that we may ultimately grasp the essence of life itself. But to this day, our bodies and minds are still deeply troubled by disease. Many people continue to struggle in extreme poverty and famine, while war and terrorism still bring suffering to the innocent. At the same time, every moment people are experiencing issues such as unemployment, family breakdown, physical and mental illness, financial loss, emotional entanglements, career changes, and difficulties in family and parent-child relationships, among many other problems. The root of these problems lies in our lack of ways to face the unknown and our own ignorance. At the same time, it also stems from the existence of inherent patterns within each individual life. The constraints these patterns impose on our consciousness are like invisible shackles, causing us to naturally live within our own inertia. This inertia, in part, comes from factors such as our upbringing, education, and family environment. These inherent patterns, shaped by the combined information of each individual's life, result in the information each person is born with. These limitations can stem from psychological, emotional, intellectual, and cultural factors unique to each individual, and they hinder people from thinking deeply about and understanding things beyond their inherent patterns. Such cognitive limitations are influenced by both innate constraints and the restrictions imposed by society and the environment. And the influence of personal factors. I believe that by this point, many of you are feeling confused and puzzled, so here I want to explain what exactly this inherent pattern means for each person. The term inherent pattern was in fact the most appropriate description I could come up with back in 2019. If I were to describe it again now, I might not use inherent pattern, but rather express it as unique information. But why did I choose to use inherent pattern at that time? Well, let me explain in detail. The length of the combination we humans commonly use is fixed and limited. Let's take one of the longer phone numbers in the world as an example. In China, a mobile phone number is 11 digits long. In the previous section, we analyzed a question about the difference between 2-digit combination and 3-digit combination. We mentioned that each different 2-digit combination contains tens of thousands of unique pieces of information. So what happens when the combination extends to 3 digits or 4 digits? That's when descriptive characterization appears. Causes, as well as process and result orientation. In other words, based on the original meaning and information, even richer and more complex information emerges. So what happens when combinations extend to the numbers we use in daily life? For example, the 11-digit combinations that make up Chinese mobile phone numbers contain an enormous amount of information. One could say they span our entire lives. At the same time, this information can also be further passed on to the next generation. Therefore, by studying the numbers phenomena, we can gain a good understanding of how hereditary diseases form in each family.
Understand the principles of life and comprehend the realm of time. Welcome to our program. This program is hosted by teacher Daishin Ai, the developer of the numbers phenomena. By analyzing the core content from her book Numbers Phenomena Human, she leads us to deeply explore the essence of life behind numbers.
The family formed by the union of different individuals exhibits certain commonalities, including hereditary diseases. Through numbers phenomena, very detailed and unique information about these can be revealed. In our future sessions, we will cover all of these topics. Now, let me return to the origin of this inherent information. Although each of us possesses a vast amount of information, it is ultimately finite. What does that mean? Let's use 2-digit numbers as an example. For instance, in the previous session, we mentioned the numbers 1881 categories. So what are the numbers 1881 categories? They include numbers like 188179971088017099907. Numbers like 158851759957 all belong to the higher level categories. If your phone number or the numbers you use in daily life contain these numbers, then you are considered part of the group that possesses the numbers 1881 categories. Through studying, you'll find that people who possess the numbers 1881 categories have flexible and very rich thinking patterns and often have imaginative, out-of-the-box ideas. So as you come to understand the numbers phenomena, you'll notice this also applies to their ability in planning and strategizing. This includes abilities that require mental agility, such as programming, design, financial trading, and other fields that demand innovation and flexible thinking. In these industries, you often see people with the numbers 1881 categories. Now you might ask, teacher, since these people are so mentally agile and innovative, what kind of inherent patterns do they have? Precisely because they possess such flexible thinking, it means they are not bound by rules. In their minds, it's hard for rigid or inflexible thinking patterns to exist. In other words, within their way of thinking, it's very hard to find the idea of wanting their life to remain unchanged, because their mindset determines their actions, which in turn determine their lives and their environment. Choices are constantly changing, and that's how it is when studying numbers, because what we're studying are the most complex and unique living beings. So when we study numbers, we must recognize that there are no absolutes. A person's numbers combination, if there are strengths, then naturally there will also be weaknesses. This is what I've been telling everyone. There is no such thing as a perfect life in this world. Everyone has their own shortcomings. So, as numbers that represent life information, they naturally also have their flaws and drawbacks. Let's give another example. Which set of numbers should we use? Let's use the numbers 1991 categories. The high-level numbers 1991 categories. As you delve deeper into the study of numbers phenomena, in my formal classes, you will learn about the magnitude of numbers combination and their differences. Even if they are the same, numbers 1991 categories, at different levels, the information they present in life is completely different. At the same time, everyone should remember that in the study of numbers phenomena, there is no such thing as a number combination with great energy having a greater influences on our lives, or a number combination with lesser energy having a relatively weaker influence. This kind of understanding is incorrect. Thinking this way can also lead our minds into a narrow and superstitious way of thinking. Not only does this not exist in the study of numbers phenomena, it doesn't exist in the world at all. Every number combination at different levels and in different aspects of life presents its meaning 100%. Each one is completely unique. So remember, there's no such thing as big energy and small energy. It's not that one is a stronger influence and the other is a weaker influence. Don't fall into that way of thinking, because it will limit your life to a very narrow level. What the teacher just talked about actually already touches on the content from our foundation course. Of course, as I've mentioned in my classes, whether I'm teaching about numbers phenomena or sharing about them, or in all kinds of programs, as long as I'm conveying information about numbers phenomena, I always try to share everything without holding anything back, because I know just how important information about numbers phenomena is to every life. In addition, many people throughout their lives actually don't have the opportunity to choose. You might think I'm being too absolute by saying this, but as you continue to learn about numbers phenomena, you'll come to understand the deeper meaning behind my words. However, through studying numbers phenomena, you'll find that in life we do have opportunities to make choices, because numbers phenomena provide us with a perspective to face life head-on. Whether it's by examining your own set of numbers or by learning from the cases of others, what we're studying are real-life experiences, one after another. Now, returning to our previous topic, why did I use this inherent pattern as a description back in 2019? We need to understand that at different stages of life, our perceptions are also different. As we accumulate more knowledge, we begin to realize that our previous ways of expressing ourselves, our words, actually stem from the knowledge we've gathered and our perspective on understanding the world. So when we look back at what we wrote in the past, we also need to recognize the shortcomings in our previous expressions. Only when we become aware of our own shortcomings can we take further steps to learn and gain experiences that are uniquely ours in life. Actually, it's a very beautiful process. I've noticed that many people tend to equate their lack of understanding with others, deliberately pointing out their flaws or being confrontational with them. This kind of thinking can make you feel extremely stressed, like you're ready to explode at any moment. In the process of being ignited and blowing up, the one who suffers the most is actually yourself. I also hope that as everyone learns about numbers phenomena, you can continuously recognize your own shortcomings. At the same time, accumulate valuable life experiences that are uniquely yours, so that when facing every choice in your future life, you can approach them with greater joy. Now, let's get back to our topic. Just now, we talked about the numbers 1881 categories, which possesses great flexibility, creativity, adaptability, and an imaginative way of thinking. This also means that maintaining a monotonous, unchanging life is extremely difficult for them. Let's take the numbers 1991 categories as another example. In the high-level numbers 1991 categories, we can see in the books. If you don't have the books, I'll also explain it to everyone. To make it easier for us to study, we've divided the combinations into 8 different categories. So, what about those 8 categories of combination? Each combination is further divided into high-level combination and low-level combinations. The characteristics and meaning of high-level and low-level combination in life are completely different. Just now, we mentioned that the high-level numbers 1991 categories is the most responsible among all combination. I'm referring to the requirements for 2-digit numbers. If combination are combined into 3-digit combination, of course, they will present even richer meanings in different situations. They stimulate different abilities and meanings in life. But among 2-digit combination, the high-level numbers 1991 categories are undoubtedly the most responsible of all combination.
Understand the principles of life and comprehend the realm of time. Welcome to this program hosted by teacher Daishin Ai, the developer of Numbers Phenomena. By analyzing the core content from teacher Daishin Ai's book, Numbers Phenomena Human, we are guided to deeply explore the essence of life behind numbers.
As for the numbers 1991 categories, they include numbers combination 1991788710990159951758857 and so on. The examples teacher are giving during the sharing are only a small part of what's possible, because number combination are incredibly rich and diverse. If you'd like to learn more, feel free to subscribe and follow us, and you'll continue discovering deeper insights into the world of numbers and life. We welcome you to continue with our foundation course and advanced practical course for further study. Regarding the responsibility of numbers 1, 9, 9, 1 categories, whether for yourself, your family, or your career, it always carries a long-term responsibility. Their responsibility is genuine, not for show. Observe closely and you'll see people with the numbers 1991 categories prefer doing things themselves. Why? Because of their strong sense of responsibility. They also demand the most of themselves professionally. They have the highest standards of any combination. They have very high standards for professional competence, whether it's at work, in managing the family, in showing filial piety to their parents, or in their responsibilities toward their partner. They always require themselves to handle things personally, so we need to think, if a person shoulders great responsibility and professionalism, not only for themselves, but also for others, for their own enterprise, and even for society as a whole, what does that mean? Wouldn't they be under a lot of pressure? Yes, they would. We can say that people with high standards for themselves experience tremendous pressure to the point that they are also very prone to developing illnesses caused by stress. So, for people like this, let's think about it. What might they be lacking? When a person takes on such great responsibility, what will inevitably happen? They certainly won't remain lazy or slack for long, because their pressure and sense of responsibility keep them constantly motivated and striving forward. You should know that people who possess high-level numbers 1991 categories, if you observe them, you'll find that they simply can't fully relax. For them, spending a leisurely afternoon sipping an ice-cold cola, an unhealthy drink, and listening to people gossip around them is actually a tormenting experience. In their minds, they just can't comprehend wasting time. You might ask, "Teacher, how do you know so much about these numbers?" Because I have been studying the numbers phenomena, and over more than 10 years I have experienced many different number combinations myself. In the future, I can share more with everyone, including number combinations that can lead to cancer, combinations associated with depression, those that cause severe insomnia, extremely strong-willed combinations, highly impulsive combinations, and those with a powerful influence. Of course, every number combination has its own strengths and weaknesses, but the profound feeling of experiencing the combinations associated with serious illness is truly beyond words. Especially when I was experiencing the number combinations that can cause liver and kidney failure, as well as those that can lead to severe depression. It took me several months to recover, because, as we know, experiencing number combinations without understanding the numbers phenomena behind them is a very dangerous task, since you have no idea what kind of impact these combinations might have on your life. Moreover, these effects are extremely subtle and silent. They will naturally occur within your thoughts. The perspective from which you perceive the world, the decisions and choices you make about everything, the moods and emotions brought about by your interactions with others, including your choices of food and your preferences for certain flavors. All of these are affected, so when you choose a numbers combination that is completely different from your previous combination, you will find that your life takes a direction opposite to before. It becomes a completely different life path. That's why I often tell everyone, if you haven't truly understood or deeply studied numbers, don't act rashly just because you find it fun or are curious, or based on a superficial understanding like changing your luck or adapting to fate. To change your own number combination or let others change it for you, meaning your phone number and the passwords you use daily, if you make such changes, the positive or negative effects they may bring to your life are beyond your estimation.
Understand the principles of life and comprehend the realm of time. Welcome to all students and enthusiasts of numbers phenomena for tuning in. This program is presented by teacher Daishin Ai, the developer of numbers phenomena. By analyzing the numbers phenomena associated with teacher Daishin Ai and examining the core content of books about humanity, she leads us to deeply explore the essence of life behind numbers. That's all for this section. In the next session, we will continue to follow teacher Daishin Ai to understand the profound information behind our life journey through numbers phenomena. Please remember, whether you wish to gain a deeper understanding of yourself or are searching for answers and direction in life, numbers phenomena can provide you with a clearer and more essential path of understanding, as well as practical and feasible solutions.